Hey folks, Fernando doing another video for the More Survivalists, and yeah, the title is kind of tongue-in-cheek because this is one of the worst awful piles of crap I've seen my entire life. And yeah, this is going to be a bit of a movie review mostly. If you're interested in that, having a few laughs, stick around. Also a little bit of a social criticism of the times we live in. Art is supposed to be a reflection of the times you live in, or that's kind of what it's supposed to reflect, throughout history. That's usually been the way. And this is a good reflection of 2020, no doubt. It is terrible. I won't make this awfully long, but also in terms of the social aspect, I guess, and how everything is ruined by the wokeness, the virtue signaling that has to be impregnated into everything. That also plays a big role, besides being just a bad movie all around. The script is terrible, the story is non-existent, makes no sense whatsoever. The acting, Gal Gadot, she's like a piece of cardboard. She has no emotion. She's just terrible, let's be honest about that. Some people think she's good looking and such. I can think of dozens of better looking, hotter women that actually can act, which would have been a lot better of a Wonder Woman. So there's really, I don't know what's going on there. Maybe there's some IDF, Mossad, PR money going on over there. I just don't see why you would have this woman that just cannot act. She cannot reflect a human emotion. And it's not the accent. I have an accent myself. Pedro Pascal, the guy that plays the villain in the movie, he's a freaking Mandalorian. He's a good actor. It's just that she just cannot do it. She has no emotion in her face. And it has to be one of the most tone-deaf persons in the entire planet. You've seen her singing about that Imagine song in the middle of the pandemic, not in the middle, when it was just getting started, about how we are all the same, and I'm here in my mansion 6 days, in quarantine, and we're all the same. No, lady, we're not. You're a millionaire and you have nothing to worry about. There's people dying. There's people that are losing their jobs. There's people that cannot put food on the table. So we're not all the same, and this is not affecting everyone. And when you start singing Imagine, it just makes us want to cut our wrists. So this is one of the worst movies without a doubt. And yes, there's that woke crappy element. Of course, yeah, at some point it was being said that it was going to be like taking a few shots at Trump. I guess that the villain is somewhat of a showman, and he's portrayed like a fraud, like a fake millionaire that's just, he has like a Ponzi scheme going on, and he's not all that great in that aspect. But and also the villains, the villains are all white males. I mean, the guy that gets the crap beaten out of, he's like a blonde rapist man, drunk, sitting on a park, wearing a suit, which would not reflect the most common type of bum sleeping on a bench that you usually come across. But it's that kind of thing. You can see the PR woke team from the movie, a collection of blue-haired lesbians, some black guy, some Latino guy, some brown, yellow, something mixed there, and everyone having a little bit of a jab of, okay, so the villain is going to be what? Pedro Pascal, okay, that's, we need an actor. Yeah. So we're hiring a guy that's brown, Latino, Hispanic, so he's a villain, but let's not make him too bad. He has to be like a villain, but at the end he's actually a good guy. You can see all of this going on. So who's the guy that's trying to rape one of the main characters in the movie? Okay, let's make him like a blonde white guy wearing a suit, just sitting on a bench drunk, that randomly tries to rape a 50-year-old lady that all of a sudden, because of some twist of the history, is supposed to be hot when she's not. Anyway, that's just the start of this movie. There's no spoilers here because there's nothing to spoil. The movie is in itself its own spoiler. If by spoiler you mean something that has been rotten for several years and it's not, shouldn't be consumed by humans, it's that bad. Of course, first 5 minutes of the movie is like a random scene from a flashback when Wonder Woman is like a little kid and she's running around in Wonder Woman land, and there's a pile of these actresses from the the previous Wonder Woman, all the Amazons. And there's a big scene about that, which has no relationship with the rest of the movie whatsoever. It's just like 10 minutes of nothing there. I suppose that's, contracts that had to be fulfilled. Like, you will have a role in this, and there they are, I suppose. So they got paid for that. You can see how much of a mess the movie is. In script, in scenes, in people that have no business being there at all. And then it goes into the 1984 thing, which is, the 80s being one of the good things in terms of marketing. Probably someone said, let's make this about the 80s. And they have a few scenes there in the beginning which say nothing at all. They have no relationship whatsoever with the rest of the movie. Of course, Gal Gadot in the 15 minutes into the movie, she grabs 2 guns from a couple of bad guys, of course, white males, which is the only version of bad guys that, as we all know, exists. And she just smashes and crashes a couple of guns, and she says, literally, she says, "I hate guns." Out of nowhere, out of no reason. Someone there in the team said, okay, let's make this anti-gun as well, because we have to tick that box as well there. So yeah, the start of the movie has no meaning whatsoever. There's like this sidekick, or later on the villain, Kristen Wiig. I think she's from Saturday Night Live, some kind of comedian. I don't really know the lady, but apparently in the script she's supposed to become hot at some point, because there's a wish stone, literally a wish stone, which you pick up, you hold it in your hand, and you wish for something, and the wish is randomly granted. So this lady picks up Kristen Wiig picks up the wish stone and says, "I want to be strong, powerful, and beautiful." And that's her wish, and she becomes super strong. She goes to the gym and picks up 500-pound weights like nothing, and she's super strong all of a sudden, and she's supposed to be super hot as well, which there's no physical change in her so as to make people believe that's the case. It's still a 50-year-old unattractive lady, but all of a sudden everyone starts acting like she is. Maybe they should have used like a actual hot woman for the role, and make her ugly a little bit at first, and then have the makeover thing, as we've seen so many times. Man, this is a pile of shit. The movie is just terrible. So the wish stone thing. The wish stone is supposed to be the villain, because Pedro Pascal cannot really be the true villain, I guess, because he's Hispanic, or for whatever reason he cannot be a real bad guy. He has to be someone that has been. Pedro Pascal is like a hustler that's once, and he's on TV. He has like a reality thing, and he's a public TV figure of some sort, and he pretends to be a millionaire, but he's actually broke. And that's where it was supposed to signal to Trump at some point, and they do like a weird hair thing, but it just doesn't make all that much sense. And for whatever reason, this man is completely aware of a stone that grants his wishes to people, which apparently no one else seems to know of. Even Gal Gadot's character, who's supposed to be the smartest woman on the planet and an anthropologist of her own right, and she's holding the stone and she doesn't even know what the thing is. But this guy, who's a hustler from the streets basically, knows the exact powers of this magical stone. So yeah, the stone thing is completely without any sense. So the blonde lady wishes to be strong and beautiful, and she's strong but not beautiful. But although we were supposed to believe she is, Gal Gadot wishes for her boyfriend Chris Pine to come back from the dead, and instead of coming back from the dead, which would be a complete logical sense, a complete logical thing, given that you have a stone that literally grants his wishes. So literally the guy could have just popped up out of nowhere, and yeah, that would be a wish granted. Oh, no. We don't have that. We instead have Chris Pine's character, taking over, like possessing the body of some other random dude. And Gal Gadot sees through his soul, I guess, and she sees that this man is actually Chris Pine reincarnated, in a very weird thing, which is very creepy, because she ends up, sleeping with a guy. She goes on through the movie with this guy, but he's actually a possessed person. She's actually raping this man who is not consenting to any kind of this sexual interaction she has with this guy throughout the movie. And making things even creepier, at the end of the movie, she comes across a guy and basically, nods like, "Hi, how are you doing?" Just goes on with her life. And like, imagine the same thing with a woman. Like, you had sex with her without her consent or her knowledge for days maybe, and you go like, "How are you doing? Yeah, I've been in your house, I've slept with you," but you don't even know any of that. But that's how tone deaf the movie is, how sexist it is against men. Then there's a pile of stuff that just, Gal Gadot, all of a sudden they just steal a jet fighter. They just go to an air base, I assume it is, and the Chris Pine character just gets in it, and they fly away from the base, with an airplane. No one seems to be in control of any of that. And while they're flying, Gal Gadot goes like, "Oh yes, I know about this magic trick that I can do," and she just makes the plane disappear. So she's like a Harry Potter, Amazon, Wonder Woman thing. So Chris Pine, he does an okay job, as best as he can with a crappy role he's playing. Same for Pedro Pascal. That Pedro Pascal's character is maybe the most stupid, illogical character I could think of. A villain that is not all that much of a villain because he really cares about what his 10-year-old son thinks, and is at the same time he's maybe the most informed and better educated archaeologist in the planet based on the kind of knowledge he's managing, which doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Then there's this stupid scene where they're driving across the desert and escaping, and Gal Gadot is going after the Pedro Pascal villain, and all of a sudden she starts running and catching up with the cars going like 80 miles an hour, and she starts running, but it's maybe the worst CGI you've seen your entire life. It's just terrible. Not only that, the overlaying of the Wonder Woman thing running, she's also like running like she's barely capable of running. I mean, you've seen Tom Cruise run, and the guy looks as if he's actually running. Gal Gadot is like she's coming out of the bathroom, and she's walking like there's no relationship whatsoever with the speed of her steps and how much she's advancing. I mean, she's walking like she's barely trotting and jogging like a 3 mile an hour run, and not even making much of an effort. Her face is like nothing, always the same. Like, yeah, there I go, I'm running 80 miles an hour. All of a sudden, she just starts pushing a 10-ton truck at 80 miles an hour, like using it like a shield. But then 10 seconds later, she's under one of those same trucks, and you're supposed to be worried about her being crushed by the truck as the bad guys shoot the tires. I mean, it is a fantasy movie, but it still should have some kind of logic to it. This is like having, in the Marvel universe, the power, the glove thing, having Thanos with the glove, all of a sudden ruling the universe, but 10 seconds later getting shot in a convenience store by a robber and getting killed there. Just wouldn't make any sense. This is kind of the same thing. The physics, even the fantasy physics don't make any sense. Chris Pine is all of a sudden about to get shot, and a bullet is like this far from his face, shot with a machine gun. But Wonder Woman, she just turns around and lassos the bullet. I mean, if you're able of physically lassoing a bullet, then nothing else should present any inconvenience for you in the physical world. You are basically a god if you can lasso a bullet out of nowhere. You just move your head and you see a bullet about to hit someone, and you just lasso it and pull it out of there. And then a scene that it's so cringe-worthy. I just kept watching it. My son came by and passed by and said, "Why are you doing this to yourself?" And it's like watching a very bad accent, which you cannot stop watching. Maybe what made it worse is that this shit goes on for 2.5 hours, so you cannot really do it in just one take. So in between, I saw with my kids, I saw classics from Christmas, Die Hard 1 and I also saw Spider-Man 1 with my son, and that makes it worse because you can still remember what a good movie actually is, and then you continue watching this pile of dog shit and just reminds you how bad it is. Even the stuff like the CGI. Well, she sees that a few kids are about to get hit by the convoy of escaping armored vehicles, and Chris Pine, I don't even remember the character's name. He just looks at her and nods, and he picks up a RPG grenade, and he somehow fires it, and Wonder Woman lassos the RPG, and that propels her through the sky, and she goes flying through the air, propelled by the RPG, which is like this big. Physics again, and she ends up saving the kids in one of. It just goes on and on forever. Yeah. Also, Wonder Woman all of a sudden flies for no reason whatsoever. She's just doing the Wonder Woman thing where she jumps very, very high, which is one of the things you knew she could do. But now, besides doing magic out of nowhere, she can also just will herself of. She remembers something that her boyfriend told her about how easy it is to fly, and she goes like, well, yeah, I guess that flying is easy after all. So she just goes like this with her arms a little bit, touches the clouds, and then goes like Superman, and she goes on flying like Superman. I mean, the amount of stupidity that goes into the movie, like, oh, well, we have to make her stronger than Superman and more powerful, and she has to fly right now. I mean, Wonder Woman historically had a invisible flying plane, which I guess that's where the magic comes in. But why would Wonder Woman need a flying plane if you can actually fly herself? Isn't that kind of the point of having a plane that you cannot fly on your own? But no. Here, Gal Gadot also has to fly. And not only fly, she also kind of catches clouds with her lasso and catches lightning as well. And she goes like Spider-Man with it. It is so bad. And yeah, there's the sidekick, this lady, Kristen Wiig, is just bad throughout the movie, and she's not attractive, so has to play an attractive woman's role whatsoever. And then at one point, she wishes to be the more powerful alpha predator in the planet, and she becomes kind of like a cat lady. Which makes sense. But the funny thing is, she's not powerful at all. She gets her ass kicked even easier than before making the wish. That the wish that was supposed to make her basically unbeatable, because the wish is being the most powerful human being in the planet, basically. And no, that's not happening. Also, Wonder Woman has this golden suit of armor, which is a shitty CGI thing that's supposed to make her look like powerful and empowered. I guess that was the kind of idea there. And this is the suit of armor that the hero Amazon lady used so as to beat all the angry males that wanted to oppress her. And there's actually like a little scene there where you see the Amazon with her golden armor and all these men. They're all men, they're all bearded, type of 300 type of male, Spartan types, and they're all trying to beat her, and she's with her beautiful golden armor, and she beats them all. It is terrible, guys. Maybe the most insulting thing here is the ending where basically she goes. I mean, at the ending you have Pedro Pascal. He has like a network of TV, and at some point he became the wish stone himself. He picked up the wish stone and he said, I want to be the wish stone. And instead of becoming a literal stone, which would be kind of funny, he becomes like a person that when you handshake, when he touches someone, he grants the wish of whoever is touching him. Which doesn't seem all that terrible for some reason, but all of a sudden it becomes that when he grants those wishes, he can also take away whatever it is that he wants. There's no precedent to that at any point, but all of a sudden that's what it happens, or that's what you're supposed to believe starts happening. So wishes are not exactly granted how they should be. Example, the Chris Pine resurrection, where it's actually embodiment in someone else, guy that they end up raping. But all of a sudden he can grant wishes for people through TV. So anyone watching TV around the planet can watch Pedro Pascal and get a wish granted. So someone says, I want $1 million, and they get $1 million. And some terrorist says, I want to blow up this country, and that country gets blown up. And when they ask the President of the United States what he could possibly want, he says, I want more nuclear weapons, which wouldn't make any sense, but that's exactly what the President of the United States asked when. And why is it that Pedro Pascal has to go ask the President of the United States something when he can just literally touch any person in the planet and get him to wish anything that he wants and get it instantly in that moment? Why could he possibly need more than 3, 5, 10, 100 different wishes? It just doesn't make any sense. So instead of wishing, I wish to be the richest person in the planet, no, he flies to Cairo and tries to make wishes for some of the folks that actually have the money and the Arabs and whatnot, and he grants them wishes in exchange for their money. Why would you do any of that? But maybe the more insulting thing, and this is a very Gal Gadot-like, some of the people asking wishes is, for example, a little kid that he sees his mom being beaten the crap out of by an abusive male, of course, as it's always the case, or he gets beaten because he peed his bed. And this little kid who wished that to stop, all of a sudden wishes that away because Gal Gadot says, tells people to give up their wishes. So at the ending of the movie, there's Gal Gadot there with her stupid, stuck-up face, and she goes like, give up your wishes, give up your wishes. And she starts whispering this with a lasso connected to Pedro Pascal, and everyone on the planet, because Gal Gadot says so, they just give up their wishes. So the guy that was poor and asked for $1 million, he says, yes, Gal Gadot, I'm going to be giving up my $1 million because you're so beautiful and you're so right. And the kid that's being beaten the crap out of by an abusive parent, literally a scene from the movie, the kid is supposed to go like, Gal Gadot says so. So yeah, I'm going to be giving up my wish. I wish to be beaten the crap out of every single day of my life. Even there's a scene where a terrorist goes, yeah, I realize I'm a bad person because of Gal Gadot. It is so cringe-worthy. It's kind of, you have to watch that because it's so repulsive. I don't know if you've ever seen those YouTube clips where they just push like one of those things with pus inside. They push and it all comes out nasty, and that has like 1 million views. And you ask yourself, why would people watch that? Or a black head and they press the skin and it comes out and it's disgusting, but you're still watching it. That's the kind of thing that happens with this movie. But that final scene, it's so insulting as well. People suffering, but no, wish it away. Don't wish it. Give up your wish. There's no point in this. We have to keep on living our own little lives and such. And that's kind of the message. Man, it is such a pile of garbage. It's just terrible, but it's just a reflection of the society we live in, where this pile of crap is worth $20 million and people are supposed to like it. It got like 70 or 80 or 90% in Rotten Tomatoes, which just says a lot of the hypocrisy that we live in. Man, this movie is terrible. And it's a terrible reflection of how the world is at this moment, and this woke nonsense, how it's destroying our society throughout. This is just a stupid movie, but this same kind of stupid you will come across in all areas of life. And it's going to be the same thing. Your kids in school are going to be taught this kind of garbage. And they're going to be taught that white males are always the evil bastards of the story. And history is going to be rewritten so as to make this kind of bullshit a historical fact. And you're going to be coming across this in your work environment, and even in your family. There's going to be people that, did you see Gal Gadot, how powerful she looked with her golden armor? That kind of nonsense will become something that you'll have to deal with. Anyway, guys, that's my movie review. It's awful. Don't even watch it. Don't bother. But that's it. See you on our next video. Have an awesome day.